Hello and welcome to Diary of a Common Man. My name is Salim Lalani. Today we will talk about Hindu tradition that still persists with Aga Khani system. But before we talk about that, I would like to basically pay my tributes to the Ukrainian people who have been wronged by Russia. And I hope that this madness stops. And I hope that we don't get to see the horrors of world wars. And this time, as we know, we may not be there to see the horrors. So let's hope that the madness stops. But at the same time, my heart also goes out to those innocent Muslims, Shia Muslims, that were, the mosque was bombed in Peshawar and also in Quetta. And my heart also goes out to people of Syria, people of Afghanistan, people of Lebanon, who are constantly harassed and killed and mutilated by forces that are much larger than them. So let's hope that's all we can do. Another thing before I start my episode is I've received a request from a few people who have suggested that it is important to repeat my mission, my objective. What am I trying to achieve? What am I about? There's a lot of confusion despite the fact that I have repeated my intentions, my objectives over the last 1 year, but for some reason people just refuse to understand. So somebody said, why don't you briefly spend, say, about half a minute to 1 minute every episode so that nobody has any sort of misunderstanding about my mission? So I think there is a lot of merit in that suggestion, and hence I'm going to start that today. My objective is for Aga Khan to stop looting people in the name of religion or cult. I want him to stop all money transactions in the Jamaat Khana, apart from the running cost, the operating cost of the Jamaat Khana, which can be donated by people, if not him. And whatever donations arrive for operating purposes, they should be completely transparent. That is my objective number one. And the reason obviously is that there's no place for money in spiritual relationships. There's no place for money when you are rich and your children are poor. And there's no place for looting people, particularly the poor people, in the name of religion. So this money business has to stop. Number two, the insult of Islam must stop, or any other faith must stop. Number three, and very importantly, he must change his constitution, which says he is in direct lineal descent from the Prophet of Islam. He must negate that and he must reverse that as soon as possible, because that is not true. It is a lie which has been told for a very long time, and the Islamic population deserves to be told the truth. This is basically what I am about. Now, let us start with the tradition, the Hindu tradition that still persists in Aga Khani system. We already know that Nizari Peers came to India, converted a few Hindus to Nizari Islam, giving them a story, a fantastic story, that the Imam, the Shia Imam, Nizari Imam, was actually the reincarnation of Bhagwan Vishnu. And a lot of gullible people fell for it, and that's when this tradition started, which still exists in this 21st century. We know that much, but what we are going to talk about today is a few inhuman practices that happened in Hindu past, Hindu history, some of which still persist in their tradition, in their system to the day. And the same system also appears to be persisting in the Aga Khani system. So we'll talk about those traditions that are still alive and well, and they are inhuman. First of all, we need to understand, if we were to understand the Hindu tradition, we must understand where did these traditions start from. As you might know, Hindu religion is the oldest religion in the world, oldest known religion in the world, that is. There were religions much before that which came and they didn't survive. But Hinduism did survive, and it is going pretty strong as we speak. Now, many thousands of years ago, Hindu sages wrote scriptures called Vedas. And a part of that Veda is a scripture called Manusmriti. This Manusmriti identified or classified human beings into four parts. Brahmin, who is a scholar or a teacher, and he is very pure. Then you have your Kshatriya, ruling class or a warrior. And then you have your Vaishya, where Vaishya is a businessman. Now I know Vaishya, you might think that it means a prostitute. That is not necessarily true. Vaishya is a class of people according to Hindu tradition, which means people who are engaged in business. Then the last one comes, and that is called Shudras. Shudras are people who do dirty jobs, cleaning your toilet and doing menial jobs is basically what Shudras are about. So what this classification did, there are many good things in the Vedas, but this is not one of those good things. In fact, it is pretty inhuman. But we don't mind people becoming scholars and teachers and businessmen and warriors and all that. But we do have a problem when people are basically uh, classified as a Shudra or an untouchable, and is only allowed to do menial jobs or dirty jobs. uh, that is discrimination. That is inhuman behavior. And a lot of thinkers in India, they fought very hard to remove these thousands of years of practice from the society. Mahatma Gandhi was one of them, Dr. Ambedkar was another. And in fact, social discrimination was legally removed. But unfortunately, there are people who still practice this inhuman system in India. And you will not believe that the practices, apart from discrimination, practices such as the class system, a boy loves a girl, girl belongs to a Shudra family, boy belongs to a Brahmin family, they cannot have the relationship. And out of this belief in Manusmriti, or the classification of human beings, even today in the 21st century, we see a lot of honor killings. Remember, the society has moved on big time, but people who are blinded completely and consumed completely by their beliefs still exist today. There are educated Hindus who practice this inhuman system in the 21st century, and so do our educated Aga Khanis. All Aga Khanis, or most Aga Khanis. I almost said all Aga Khanis, and I have a reason for that, which I'll come to in a minute. But it is important for me to say that the Hindu society has moved on, most of it, particularly where there is education. They have moved on, but Aga Khanis have not moved on despite the education. And why do I say that? Let's take my own example. I don't have to go very far. Not one Aga Khani has given me a call so far from my society, which is Sydney. Not one. Not even in private. Not even in private. Completely outcasted. You cannot be a part of us. There is a wall of blind faith and inhumanity in the Aga Khani system. And I'm not only talking about Sydney society or the Jamaat. This is everywhere. And this is 21st century. Yes, Aga Khanis belong to this system where they practice human discrimination which is thousands of years old practice. And hence, I have named this episode A Primitive Society. Then, apart from the class system, now one more thing before I move on. Uh, I spoke about excommunication, giving my example, but coming to the classification of people, you know how four classes: um, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishnav, and Vaishya. Sorry, not Vaishnav, Vaishya, and Shudra. Sultan Muhammad Shah, the 48th Imam, he divided the community in two parts. One is elites, people who are powerful, people who are wealthy, and one is a commoner. Today, in 21st century, 2022, this discrimination of followers is being practiced proactively in the Jamaat Khanas across the world. What I hear from Jamaats in Dubai, for example, from what I hear from Jamaats in Canada, and there are other Jamaats around the world which practice this inhuman practice even today, and they are educated. I'll keep repeating this: they are educated, but they are in fact primitive people. Apart from the division, the discrimination, the excommunication, age-old primitive practice, another practice that Aga Khanis have not been able to shake away is the practice of what is called panchayat. Aga Khanis call it panchayat. Let's understand panchayat. What is a panchayat? Panchayat basically is a, a very primitive form of local government where five people, five men, belonging to their particular village or society will sit under a tree and they become the arbitrators and they make decisions on people's future, whether they like a bit like a courtroom, and they make judgments. They hear people, they administer the judgment, and the problem is the basis of their jurisprudence is Vedas. Vedas are thousands upon thousands of years old. They do not fit. That is the jurisprudence part of it doesn't fit. There are so many other good things about Vedas that fit very much with the modern society. But this part, the arbitration part, it does not, because the societies have moved on. They have evolved into something completely different from when they were written. But these panchayats are still happening. Although the Indian government has made sure that their powers have been reformed in a big way, and they work hand in hand with the with the government or the law of the country. But with the Aga Khani system, that is not the case. Before we go to Aga Khani panchayat system and how damaging it is, we will talk about that in a minute. But let's go back to Hindu panchayat system. So the Hindu panchayat system was basically a group of, as I said, five men. Women stayed at home. So what they did is they also wanted to be a part of the panchayat. They wanted to be involved in the arbitration process. But India, like other countries, being a male dominated country, they did not give this luxury to their women. So, what women did is they started their own panchayat system at home. So, a few women will get together and start gossiping. Nobody comes to them for advice or for resolution of an issue. Nobody would do that. So what they would do is they converted the panchayat into gossiping. And this is not a new practice. This is a primitive practice. And it happens almost in all societies. And Aga Khani system is no exclusion. Only thing in Aga Khani system is it is very much prevalent and very much common. Uh, and it is pretty intense in the Aga Khani society. And this panchayat system is just like the Hindu system, it is operated by the women. And when I say women, I mean to say, I would say 95% women, only 5% men who behave like women. I know a name or two myself, a couple of men who would engage in that kind of behavior. But mostly it is women. How damaging it is? People have stopped coming to Jamaat Khanas, young people, because they cannot put up with these women talking about them behind their backs. And then they find out through their parents. And I have seen a few youngsters moving away from Jamaat Khana in Sydney. Apart from that, the panchayat system also widened the gap between the elites and the commoners. Okay, so these are the damaging aspects of the primitive system of panchayat in the Jamaat Khana. Another thing that is worth mentioning about elites and commoners is that obviously if you are an elite, you get to attend all the expensive religious meetings. You can afford the entry fee. And because you can afford an entry fee, you get special blessings from your imam. You get special tasbihs from your imam. You get to say special prayers given to you by your imam. The second class murids, they cannot achieve all that based on their financial situation. Apart from the panchayat system, I would like to talk to you about some mind-boggling practices of Aga Khanis. If it doesn't boggle your mind, please let me know. A man or a woman in Aga Khani system commits so many sins in 24 hours that they become sinners top to toe. Do you know any community, any human, modern or primitive, that converts their murids into sinners within 24 hours, top to toe? Number 3, A poor person in the Jamaat Khana is struggling for food. The rich people in the Jamaat Khana will not give it to him. They will give it to Aga Khan. The money will be given to Aga Khan. They will take the food, they may eat it at home, they may throw it away if they don't like it, but they'll give the money to Aga Khan at inflated prices, but they will not give it to the poor person who is looking for food. Can you believe it? And I'll give you one more. And this is my favorite. Okay, let's understand. If Salim Lalani comes to you and says to you, say your name is Mohsin. Mohsin, I'm in deep trouble, mate. Could you please give me $1,000? And Mohsin is a very kind-hearted man, a very soft-hearted man. And he gives Salim Lalani $1,000. Now, should Salim Lalani say thank you to Mohsin? Correct? Who is the receiver of the money? Salim Lalani. Should Salim Lalani say thank you? No. That's not how it works in Aga Khani system. In Aga Khani system, Mohsin will say thank you to Salim Lalani. He will actually say to Salim Lalani that, oh Salim Lalani, thank you so much. You gave me $1,000. I can't thank you enough. You have given the money to Salim Lalani. No. In Aga Khani system, they give money to Aga Khan at every step. Every step. And they say thank you to Aga Khan. Can you believe it? If you cannot believe it, go to Jamaat Khana and listen to this Ginan. Je je mangu te tuhi deve. Meaning, oh my Lord Aga Khan, you give me whatever I ask for. If he should get in trouble, he will look after his own trouble. He cannot go to Aga Khani system to ask for money. That's all for this week. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next week.